All right, here we are in another best of five played out in the Aureil Stormgate Invitational Second Edition. And this was played out in the round of 16. And this is played between OS Control in the blue Infernal and his opponent Yoru. In the red Infernal, this will be an IVI, and already there are some hexes in the middle of the map, and we see a difference already. Yoru's hexen is choosing violence and takes a few pot shots off of on control, while control is just on move command and says, I'm here to scout only, I am a peaceful hexen. Looked like she wanted to take a shot at that imp, but he transformed into a vault soon. So this hexen from control manages to see vault and a conclave. The conclave is already done, and there are already some gaunts out. Whereas back home for back home for control, there's also, it looked like vault first into conclave, slightly different timings because that vault is so much further away. The imp had to walk a little bit further. And we have a sort of double team here where it looks like they've split the tanking responsibility between the two of them. The Hexen now having to retreat so that she doesn't take too much damage. And she's very low. This must be a choice. Probably because she's going to head out here and chomp down on some cabbage. Everybody loves a nice healing cabbage, and there's one right there. Eat it. Yomp. Chomp. Okay, cabbage eaten. A cabbage a day keeps the... I don't know what it keeps away, but it's good. It's good. So eat your cabbages. What does Popeye say? I'm strong to the finish because I eats me spinach. I'm strong to the cabbage because I eat my cabbage. Something like that. I'm working on it. I'm workshopping it. Let me know how you think about that. And it's just a little bit of creepy creep for both of these so far. They've got a very similar creeping pattern. They've both creeped their health and speed camp and are now creeping the vision camps. And agreeing to take the ones on their side of the map, whereas for a while the meta was you always take the one on the other side of the map, since that's the attack path you go on. Now we see control stealing the speed camp here, being a wee bit aggressive, although they both have very similar forces, it looks like. Using those speedy legs to rush over here and try and steal the vision camp too. But Yoru not wanting to relinquish full map control here. Looks like he might try and contest this, but deciding not to. Honestly, these numbers look almost identical. There might even be an extra gaunt. I'm not sure how you have one extra gaunt. Usually that means you lost a gaunt. And if you lost a gaunt, you probably lost it creeping. Since these two did not yet engage. Here's some fiends trying to take this, but there's a farm there, so not going to be able to take it. You might be able to take this one. There's no farm here. And I think that's what those fiends are deciding that... Oh, nope, they're going to go grab a speed camp. So they have recaptured their... Yoru recaptured his own speed camp. Now he's going to recapture this one, while also sending a skull, it looks like, to capture this vision camp. So a little bit of positional battles over the camps right now. And control will regain control of his camp. Actually, maybe not, as there's going to be a little fiend battle here, but it's 4-on-4. And that's, no one has an advantage here, so Yoru chose to retreat. And yeah, it's been mostly positional play here. Neither of these players yet wanting to engage. And instead, again, both of them kind of mirroring each other and doing the creeping play. Now, the way you used to be able to glitch out these creeps, you can't really do that anymore. This Hexen is dangerously low. Hopefully not going to be lost. Ooh, the Bruiser turns on the Hexen and squishes her right at the last minute. Poor Hexen. Poor Hexen. And, oh, some of these units had split off to go take the speed camp. Now there's a little bit of some kind of little skirmishes here out on the map. These Fiends do get some good kills here. But also losing a Brute, and it looks like a couple Gaunts there. And coming out of this, Yoru has just a slight supply lead. And again, if he can pick off those Gaunts, he'd gain an even bigger lead. But no, Control catching back up with some production rounds. And Control on a third. Up yet, not quite. Same thing for Yoru. A little bit slower timing for Yoru. And neither of these players ready yet to just A-move into the other and see what happens. Couple of Fiends taken out rather. And it's lots of Gaunts and 3 Brutes here versus lots of Gaunts and 5 Brutes over here. And of course still a Hexen. A single Scout into the main or into the Nat here. Sees another Conclave on the way. There's already a Ritual Chamber, and we see Reaper's Rush. And what about here? We got a Ritual Chamber. We don't see Reaper's Rush. It might already be done. But no Hellforge out to upgrade Brutes or something else. No Reaper's Rush here, and no Reaper's Rush started yet. We do have the Greater Shrine, so the Reaper's Rush could be started for Yoru. But there we go. Now we see it being researched. And again, a lot of just positional play from these two so far. Trying to stay in control of their side of the map as well as their camp. And getting as much of that creep income as they can. So both of them have returned to creeping out as their camps respawn. It will be the speed camps next that respawn. There's a single Fiend here that found some imps to fight with. We do see a Twilight Spire going down. That could be for tier 3 taking or for some airplay. And both players going for their speed camps again. There's been a lot of reluctance to engage with each other so far in this game. And they are staying fairly neck and neck. Although here comes Control with his speed boost. He's going to come out and he now pops an effigy. He's ready to do that A move I talked about. Yoru definitely dodging a Nightfall infestation. Although a lot of his units are infested from the Plague Axes. And it's not sure. It looked like he wanted to turn and fight on the ramp. But Control running away. Using that speed boost from the speed camp. Going to take another camp. So, took a couple kills, got a little bit of a benefit from sniping some units, and then just full-on retreats. And I like the way that he's moved his units here, put the Brutes sort of, just in case this army comes up, and sure, here it is. He's well positioned. He's got all his Brutes on the front line. He just turns and fights. Drops effigy on both sides. Nightfall infestation going down for Yoru. Really nice hit. All of those Gaunts are infested. But the Brute frontline are doing their job and tanking so that those infested Gaunts are not going down and turning into Fiend. The infest is done. A single Weaver shows up to tank for Yoru. And now it's Control who's having to retreat. And a few of his reinforcing units, unfortunately, caught out of position and pulled out. Now, I'm not sure why he retreated there. I thought he was doing quite well. He still has a very slight lead. I think it may have been just to get closer to his reinforcements. We have a Hellforge out for Control. And we do have an Elder Shrine on the way. Not sure. It doesn't look like Elder Shrine. I don't see. Oh, there's a Twilight Spire and a Hellforge. And we do have Brute upgrades on the way. Soulforge Descendants. But here we have another battle around this creep camp. And there was another good Nightfall infestation from Yoru. And there's a pretty good one, actually well dodged from Yoru. And this is just a battle on the high ground. The single Hellborn in the back is doing a little bit of extra work there. And Control pushes Yoru off this vision camp. Again, still just having a very slight supply lead. Might just be that Hellborn, maybe a Hellborn and a Weaver. And Yoru moving to take out this camp. Well, he sent a couple of, I like that, brutes just to see if the army's going to come and be a problem for him. And indeed it is going to try and be. He manages to take the camp. Ooh, we've got that tier 3 upgrade, the Molten Touch. And that means that Hellborn is going to be even more dangerous, doing even more damage, especially to these low hit point Gaunts. And let's see, this might be the final engage here, as that Molten Touch is lighting everything on fire. We get a couple of lashes going down on the Weavers to pull them to the front and try and focus them down. There's a lash going down on one of the Hellborns. That is clutch, although the Hellborn does manage to pull away from the focus fire. There is a good concave on the low ground, but also on the high ground. A mag pops out, and huge split from Control as he's able to get his Gaunts away from that mag, and then the lash to focus fire it down. And this is going to look pretty bad here for Yoru, although so many more Gaunts are showing up. They're just not in the great concave. They're standing in that position where they can just all get focused down or all get hit by the Molten Touch. So many are getting lit on fire by that Molten Touch, and this might be the tale of the match, as even attacking into the static D, there's 4 Hellborn now and a bunch of Gaunts, and that's going to be an HH out of Yoru. Okay, we're right back in it, and this is going to be game number 2 with Yoru in the Blue Infernal. His opponent, winner of the first game, Control in the Red Infernal. These two are going to be playing out now on Lost Hope. And Lost Hope, of course, a 4-player map. But it's Control who's going to be scouting in the right direction. They are not cross-spawned, so Control's going to make it first into the base. See the Shroud, is he going to turn? He's going to fight this Imp. Say, bad boy Imp, I don't know where you're going or what you're planning to do. But that is also information for Yoru. Yoru did not see his opponent here. Teleports home and must conclude the location of Control. It's unlikely that Control scouted cross map, and if he had, it would have taken a different amount of time to reach the base. So I'm pretty sure that Yoru can use his deductive abilities to figure that out. Now to start the creeping, we got a vault here that produced a brute for Control, and it's Conclave first for Yoru. So very slightly different in their openings, but as we saw last game, it started to coalesce into the same type of composition, as they both have gone one of each production structure. So we will be seeing brutes and Gaunts out of both of them to open this game. And it looks like it's going to be a creeping. Again, as we saw last time, it's going to open with creeping. So no initial aggression from either of these two. Instead, they're going to clear out their camps, and on a map like Lost Hope, this is a common way to go. There are so many camps. Although, if you do get an advantage on the camps, that can be a benefit. And one way to do that is to be aggressive at the beginning of your match and try and contain your opponent a little bit. So that is one strategy on the Lost Hope map. Neither of these players necessarily taking it right now, and instead Control going for the vision camp in the middle, and I do think this is the better tactical play. It means you risk running into your opponent, but there's only one of these camps, and you can still go out and capture the other speed camps and capture the other health camps. Instead, though, Control is going to turn and try and fight here. He turns to fight. A couple of his brutes go down initially. There's just a better concave from Yoru. He has more Gaunts as well. And yeah, this is not an advantageous fight for Control to take, so he is going to retreat. And He's got a few low gaunts here, and yoru wants to chase them down. He wants to do that damage. But unfortunately, they move at the same speed, so without a mistake, basically, by control, it was unlikely that he was going to catch them. And they are headed straight to this health camp where they can heal back up. But this is what I'm talking about. You win a battle on the map, as yoru just did there. He now has a little bit of map control. He can come steal this speed camp. He's got that vision camp in the middle. And now that means he might be able to take more camps out on the map. We see control being just a little bit more timid and going for his energy camp, whereas yoru's going to say, fine, I'm going to go move right across the map, steal this camp here. I can go grab my energy camp a little bit later, maybe on the way home. And I can just increase my income here, increase my regen here, which is clutch. Now having 3 health camps to 1 means you're regenerating that much faster. I think it would be 3 times as fast. And that means that when you're in a battle, even a battle that looks even, your units are just going to have that little bit more survivability. And that's very clutch. We see a Fiend trying to steal the speed camp back. Having control of at least 1 speed camp is important. And as I mentioned, with the health camp, the same is true of all the camps. If you have both speed camps, you're extra fast. If you have split the speed camps, then you're at the same speed. Vision camp being taken, but the health camp was not taken, and yoru is moving out with his full force to retake it. This Fiend's gonna go, I'm just gonna snatch the one right up in your base. Or no, he's actually going for a scout. Trying to see what's going on. Trying to see, is there a third? And yes, the third has gone down. There's a scout farm over here. I thought that might be something else, but there's a scout farm to see if these trees get busted. And there is no third, so now control is putting down his third. Having seen the third of yoru, knowing he's a little behind on that, decides I need to catch up, get my third down. And yoru is playing, or sorry, control's playing defensive here, leaving his units just up on the high ground of the ramp in case of a push up, and not being out on the map doing the creeping, kind of relinquishing the map to yoru so that yoru can take these different camps and get a little bit of an advantage in terms of the income. Yoru is now going to go for this Therium camp, but control now has decided he can't let yoru take all the camps, and he's out on the map as well, taking one of these camps for himself and trying to remain in this game. Now what do we have here? It's just a Fiend. Scout Fiend trying to see timing on the thirds, realizing, oh, you're still building that third, I'm already up. So now yoru knows he's a little bit ahead. And did he bring a mag here? No, he doesn't have anything to chop those trees. He's not planning to go through them. But he did take the Therium Tower. And control once again is moved back to his base in a defensive posture. Yeah, I was going to say he should probably go for this camp, and indeed he turns to take it. While yoru is also taking his camp, so... Oh, here's the mag I was expecting, and he indeed brought it out, but wants... Hey, before I move in here, I want that health camp advantage, so he does take this camp. And it looks like yoru is planning to make a splash with his mag. Although no wants to speed camp first, so... This is one of the drawbacks of having the camps on the map, especially with them respawning, is that you kind of feel the need to have the camp. You don't have it, it feels like you're under-checked. And just a single mag, and I think it's for knocking trees and for zoning gaunts away. And its control is unfortunately out of position here, well out on the map, taking this camp. But his scout farm does exactly what it's for, which is to just delay for a moment so that he can get back into position. And interestingly, Yoru chooses not to go up there. Maybe partly because of... no, I wonder. I think he saw this tower got taken and he decided to come out here and maybe catch the army out on the map instead. I don't know if that was the right play. I think moving in and maybe killing this base, which he might have been able to do, might have been the right move. The supply is looking fairly even between these two, and we see some fiends breaking off to take these camps. He's going to draw the army up here. That's not necessarily great because it's moving it out of position again. And now Yoru is deciding, I'm going to move in the back door here. Maybe Yoru was expecting a base here and did not find it, so that's why he moved out initially. And now he's right in the base. This is not looking good for control. We're going to see a lot of these go down. We see a nightfall. Oh, huge nightfall infestation. Catches all those imps. And the Gaunts are just trying to rush over there so more fiends can pop out. And indeed, a lot of fiends have popped out. And this is an opportunity here for Yoru to get a really nice engage. But we see a Manifest Shroudstone come down. The Magmadon gets chomped right away. And a huge Nightfell going down on all of these Gaunts. Now it is Control who's in control. Ooh, Control's in control. And these brutes are lost to this world, cornered in the back. And Yoru's in full retreat. I think Yoru needs to turn and fight here. You gotta focus fire these brutes down. But no, Yoru's in full retreat. Taking pot shots from the fiends. Now he turns to fight with a effigy. He may have just been waiting for that effigy cooldown so that he could get the infest. But it's Control who's got the slight advantage now. Yoru was able to do some eco damage there, but he lost army. And now we've got an engage up on the high ground. It's Yoru who's on the shroud, but he tries to back up to get a better concave, and he does actually get a pretty good one. There is so much infest down on all of these units for Control that Yoru might be able to get something here, but no, there's just too many tanky units, and Yoru feels compelled to pull down and get those units into the choke, which is a great move. Huge concave for Yoru on the low ground here, getting so many good focus fire shots down on these brutes in the front line, but there's just a ton of weavers here, and the weavers are so tanky. They're just so tanky, and when you've got these big tanky units, there's only one fiend that pops out, so you'd rather be killing a bunch of these Gaunts so that you can be getting a bunch of fiends to pop out as well. Nonetheless, the concave kind of worked for Yoru, but it's Control who's now pushed down the ramp and got a concave of his own, and that breaks the defense of Yoru. Yoru now has to go up into his base, get some of the SimCity on his side, get these Gaunts shooting at buildings and other things. A huge Magmadon pumps out. Too bad he's not upgraded. It would have been great to see some stuns there. He did get some great trample down, which was a lot of damage on these units. And a nice... Ooh! What happened there? That looked like the Weaver got killed in mid-lash. So the Hellborn was not pulled in. I've never seen that particular canceling of the lash before. That's really cool. But this is starting to look like it could be the end here. The final hold for Yoru. He's hoping that these Gaunts on the high ground will be able to just get enough kills to start a little snowball of fiends. But no, it's the Hellborn actually that's doing the work. And the second Hellborn shows up. The second Hellborn here is going to double up on that damage. They are not yet upgraded, and some brutes come out that really help clean up some of these Gaunts. And it is the Hellborns that need to retreat. One of them getting lashed in and killed by those units there. So actually a fairly clutch hold there right at the last minute by Yoru, as some extra brutes and Gaunts pop out to push that force back. Now, interestingly, behind this, Control has gone ahead and put up a Therium base right in the middle. And that means he's going to be swimming in Therium very shortly. And that means lots of high-tech units that he can bring to bear and maybe close this game out. So we will see. As he's got his two Hellborn, he did lose one. He's got a third one now. And a couple Weavers as well as his Gaunt Force still there. I think he could use a few Brutes frontlining, maybe a Mag or something. But he might be happy to just use Fiends. And looks like he's trying to get an advantage while he rebuilds his army to re-push out again. Although actually this army from Yoru is looking pretty good himself. Not with the Hellborn backup that could be certainly helpful here, but he's got a lot more brutes. And those brutes are going to be doing the tanking in the front line. And they do have their Soulforged Descendants, and I am so grateful to see that this bug has been fixed. I can now see the tooltip here. Thank you, Frost Giant. Every time you add something new, I'm happy. So keep it up. And we might get a little engaged around the center here as Control has come to take out the Vision Camp, and Yoru is retreating back. It looks like to his side of the map. And Control being really interesting here to move all his units well out of position here to take this camp. Yeah, so he is moving back when he sees that his center base has been spotted. And the Shroud Stones, one Shroud Stone gets picked off, but as his force returns to the middle, some huge lashes going down, and we actually have a dragon now out of Yoru. That could be the difference here in the middle. Already we see them retreating. The Hellborn still unupgraded. So many themes popping out thanks to the dragon. Now we see the upgrades on those Hellborn. They're hoping the upgrades are going to do what they need to do, but it's the dragon up above that's winning this battle here for Yoru. Yoru's supply advantage is growing and growing, and we're going to see a GG out of Control in game number 2. And we're right back in it. This is going to be game number 3 of this match. Each of these players have won one game so far, so we are down to a best of 3. And this player here in the blue Infernal is going to be Control. His opponent in the red Infernal, Yoru. And these two have opted to play this game on Isle of Dread. Another one of these big maps, so we may see interesting teleporting home right away. Did he send a skull? I don't know. That was an interesting choice. But Yoru sent his scout Hexen out, teleported home right away, and there is a Conclave into Vault here for Yoru, and it looks like Conclave into Vault also here for Control. Now Control Texan has shown up. Interestingly, wow, okay. I don't think he's going to pick this off, but that was a really nice play. The Gaunt's able to get a lot of damage there. Something that could have been done there by Yoru, I think strategically chose not to, was to cast the Skull of Shedda on the Hexen as she was teleporting away. That would allow him to get a little bit of vision in the main base, which he hadn't actually scouted, so he doesn't know what the opening is. So didn't do that, but that's something you can do if you catch a Hexen unaware like that as she's teleporting away. And it's creeping the health and creeping the health for both of them. But interesting, OS Control sent an imp here who turned into a farm. So that chopped down those trees so that the brute could get in there. Whereas it was creeped just by 2 Gaunts here for Yoru. And interesting, the second wave of units popped out, started creeping this camp even before the first set showed up, which managed to get a little bit of a head start on that, so good job. But it looks like an imp's being sent out here by Control to take second base, whereas the second base has already gone down for Yoru. And as we saw in the first 2 games, these 2 players have chosen to open with kind of an eco creep opening for Infernals, because you can creep pretty well with your units. Opening double production structure can be considered kind of an eco opening, because with those first units you take out your first couple camps, and those camps are what you use to put down your first base. If you were planning to do anything different here, you might try to do some pressure off of a 1 base play. Both of these players have kite units to produce that second base, at least at some point in this build. At least I assume they have. But the point of the creeping build is that with that extra creep income, you don't have to kite units very long. Or maybe not at all, depending on which variant of the build you're doing. And it allows you to sort of balance the eco with having units out on the map control, and some of the other things that you're hoping to gain in the early game, a little scouting as well. And that's what we're seeing here. These fiends, actually, it looked like they might be trying to go for this camp. But in fact, they have to run away. There's this back door out that they can escape. I'm not sure where they're headed off to, but Control here decides to take this camp. Well, we're again seeing very similar creeping styles. What that tells me here is that there are some builds, some metas that have been kind of figured out. And both of these players are mirroring each other by basically just playing what they feel is the best sequence in their own meta, which, because the meta is fairly well developed at this point, they end up with similar compositions, similar patterns in creeping, even if not 100% identical. These fiends are still trying to be kind of annoying, but what they're really out here trying to do is get some information. They go there to the Dumble Luminate base and see there is no shrine there, although a shrine now gets placed down. And Yoru's own shrine was just a little bit faster. Going to, again, check for more bases, maybe steal a camp or two. And also try and get some of these units for Control a little bit out of position. Although the rest of Control's army is actually out still creeping. And a little advantage here, going to take this Therium camp. Therium camps, of course, being super important for Infernal players that need that sweet, sweet Therium for their high-tech units. And it's Yoru who's thinking about taking this camp now and realizes, oh wait, you just took it from me. But his army is better. Choosing not to fight into that, probably because the concave was not in his advantage. Interesting choice not to cut up here and see if he can cut them off. Maybe not realizing that his force there was actually quite a bit stronger because Control had split his force. He still has these guys chasing these fiends around, unfortunately. Finally cleaning them up. Now the third base is up for Yoru. Almost done here for Control. And what else we got going on here? We got more conclaves coming out. We got nothing on upgrades right now. I don't see a greater shrine, actually. So we have Plague Axes most likely, but probably not Reaper's Rush, because we don't have the tech yet. Now what about back home? We do have a greater shrine for Control. Pardon me there. He's got more conclaves going down. And does he have... Yeah, he does have Reaper's Rush on the way. And it looks like he's pushing out a little bit to be aggressive. Maybe aiming to link up with the Reaper Rush timing. Although actually retreating back to take this camp. And that might just be because that timing is not quite here yet. Not sure how long this upgrade is, but it looks like it might be about a minute. And so, having enough time to retake this camp is always a good idea. And that means this camp's probably about to respawn too. And this is one unfortunate side effect of this respawning of camps. And when camps have been taken pretty much in a straightforward pattern, like they have been in this game, that they all respawn in that same pattern, and then all of a sudden you're motivated not to push out, even though he had his timing ready, but instead say, well, I don't want to push out with my health camp, I don't want to push out without my speed camp, and now you've delayed that timing a little bit, and allowed your opponent to also maybe catch up and get that Reaper's Rush researched. And we do have a Greater Shrine finished here, and Reaper's Rush is now half done, and that's sort of what I'm talking about here. Is there was a about a minute, minute and a half here, where Yoru had the, sorry, not Yoru, where Control had the advantage with his Reaper Rush, and because he's committed to creeping here, he's going to lose that advantage. He still has about 15 seconds, and he is moving into the right position, so we might have a little bit of an engage here with that bonus. And sure enough, we do. We have some speedy Gaunts chasing down slow Gaunts, extra slow Gaunts, and with the effigy, that's going to mean, and we see Yoru just basically waiting for his Reaper's Rush, but unfortunately taking a few losses there and getting himself into a corner. This is not looking good for Yoru. All of these poor Gaunts, even now with their Reaper's Rush, are going to get surrounded, as we see here. So many Gaunts around on the other side with a little bit of a flank. A nice effigy to get some infest going down as well. So some fiends can pop out. And huge work from Control to send his reinforcements into the right position to get a good surround. And that's going to be a deletion of that army. And it looks like here that Yoru has tried to make up for this with a little bit of a counterattack here. Sending a small force up here to pressure this base. But this force is not big enough to do more than just a wee bit of pressure. They've taken out almost only Fell Hogs, unfortunately, which is a huge waste of DPS. As, yeah, they're about to get cleaned up. The whole army shows up. And this is not looking good for Yoru here in game number 3. As now the supply tells sort of the tale. We got a 50 supply lead for Control, and Control really just needs to move the base, and he should win. But Yoru is not dissuaded and is going to try, and well, it looks like he's going for more creeping, which I don't know if I like that. I think what he needs to do here is do more harass, try and take out a base or something. But he does capture this Luminite, managing to get a little bit more Luminite income, while Control did the same thing as he's moving out, and that's just on the way. I'm gonna grab that. A couple of imps, unfortunately, caught on the map, and they get killed. And now, yeah, I think your Control saw the direction those imps were going and chose to go that direction. Another nice Nightfall infestation hitting a huge number of Gaunts. And again, it's upgraded Hellborn in the background with their Molten Touch that are going to do so much extra damage over time. No Dragon this game. And so Control has pushed these units back. There is actually a Hellborn now out for Yoru as well. I think that's the first time in this series that we have seen a Hellborn on Yoru's side. And but it is upgraded Hellborns that are going to win the day. The Gaunts push Yoru back into his base. And there's 100 supply lead now. So yeah, it's just a matter of time to move into the base and watch the units kind of get deleted. We're watching faults go down here. And in a second here, there is going to be a ton. Oh, we do see a dragon now pop out for Yoru. This is probably why Yoru has tried to stay in this. He's hoping the dragon with its extra skills can get something here, but unfortunately there's just way too much for Control. And even with that dragon firing down from above, the dragon now has to retreat and into the natural here. Final stand, it looks like, for Yoru. Half of the army here for Control only, the other half deleting the double Luminite base. And the dragon got taken out, and that's going to be GG out of Yoru in game number 3. And we're right back at it. This is going to be game number 4 between these two, and spawning in the bottom left of Secluded Grove is going to be Yoru in the blue Infernal. And his opponent in the top right, in the red Infernal, is going to be Control. And it is Vault Conclave, and it is Conclave by itself. So slight variation in this game. Most of the maps we've played on so far have been larger maps, and that is allowed for macro play in the early game. But this map is a little bit smaller, and it looks like that means that Yoru has chosen a slightly different build. And indeed has gone for a second production structure, just much delayed. I wonder if that was his style in the earlier games. I wasn't paying attention too closely. Whereas these two structures are going to finish very close to the same time, and that will allow Control to pump out some Gots shortly behind this Brute to help with the creeping. And I do imagine that we are going to see a creeping opening out of these two to begin again here in this match. We saw it in the first 3 matches that they are fairly happy with this build, where they kind of open with some units, do some creeping, no harassment out of that, while they try and build up a second base. No second base yet for either of them. And both of them positioning for their vision camp. And Control just being a little bit ahead on the speed there. And we see his Hexen chomping down on some cabbage to heal back up. We've noticed in some of these games that Control's creeping style is to use this Hexen a little bit as a tank. She is a little bit beefier. How much hit points does she have? She has 160 plus 40, which is 200 total. Versus our Brute here has the same hit points? So the Hexen is equally tanky as a Brute. I did not expect that, actually. And it looks like twice as tanky as a Gaunt. So that's why you might use her to do a little bit of tanking. I guess I learned something today. And it looks like positioning for this camp, although this camp looks a little bit too tough for me. I wouldn't want to take it with that smaller force. Another Brute on the way. And these Fiends tried to retake because there's going to be a little bit of a Fiend on Fiend battle here. It's interesting that the farm was used at this camp. Many patches ago I used to do this because this camp could be soloed by a single Brute and the Fellhogs. That was before the creeps got a little bit of a buff so that they're a little tougher. I don't think that's still true. Okay, so both of them are just hanging out at this Luminite camp, but it is Yoru who starts first. And, yep, as predicted, they are both continuing just to do a little bit of creeping in the early game here while they build their second bases and get some upgrades going. Ritual Chamber up. It doesn't seem to be researching, which suggests Plague Axes are done, but they are not, actually. They are not. So there we are, started up. And Plague Axes for Control almost done. I mentioned this in the last game. That means there's a timing here. He might not know he has a timing, but boom, starting right now. And for the next, oh, it's only about 20 seconds. He has Plague Axes, and Yoru does not. And this is going to be an interesting little conflict here, as Yoru wants to come and take this camp from Control, but Control's already set up to take it himself. And Yoru, I'm not sure, is he going to do it? I think both of them want to catch the other one creeping, because if they can, then they can get the advantage of fighting alongside the creeps and not fighting the creeps while they're fighting their opponent. But Yoru wisely kind of staying in that force there to be able to get one of the creeps, and it's not clear who got that last one, but it kind of looked like Yoru to me. So there is still the battle going down, and the concave is looking really nice for Yoru. And a few of Control's Gonstars just standing in the back doing the little hokey pokey dance. And that means that Yoru pushed through here and is going to take both these camps as a result, which is a bit of an advantage. Now, Control has gone ahead and taken this camp, probably with a Fiend. I don't see it. Probably ran away. So that doesn't mean he's down Illuminite camp, but he is definitely down Ethereum camp. And we will see what that means for Yoru, because Yoru had a good battle there, took some advantage, killed an army, and that means he probably knows he's got a supply lead, assuming the ecos are fairly similar. Captures the Vision camp, and now is thinking, do I push up this ramp? There is a ramp there, it's hard to see. Very wide. And indeed he does. And it's a nice battle here with some nice effigy, and Nightfall actually hits the Magmadon, slowing it down while it was trying to trample out. And this single mag is actually probably enough to push Yoru back. Huge, huge Nightfall infestation. If only that trample was not on cooldown, it would have been perfect to trample into that. But unfortunately, it had just been used. And these units are being chased back and unfortunately taking casualties as they do. But Yoru sets up a nice concave to defend, and Control has to back off. Yoru deciding it's time to re-creep again. So we talked about this already, but the creeps have respawned, and so they need to be recaptured for that health bonus, especially since a number of his Gaunts are low after being chased across the map. So he does clear that, and it's not surprising to see that Control is also clearing his camp on his side. And some of these units running through the light forest, so the big boys have to run around this way. But where are they headed? To this Vision camp? And both of them, it looks like, want to come and do something to this camp. But yeah, Control's going to have to move back. He uses his trample early. I don't really like that. Because now he can't use that trample on Yoru's units until the cooldown is completed. And that means Yoru's going to be able to take this camp again. So, stealing a couple camps from Control. Part of the advantage that Yoru's had this game. And now getting on top of some of these buildings here. The Magmadon trying to get to the front and gets slashed just as he uses his trample. Now there is a trample from Yoru. I didn't notice he added a mag, but his mag goes forward. Some pretty good splits. 4 Control's Gaunts to back up 2 more mags on the way. They're going to push this army back, and sure enough, Yoru's saying, yeah, I don't really want to fight into that. Lashes down one of the Weavers, but there are 2 Magmadons, so he has to retreat. Another great Nightfall infestation going down. And now the mags have made it to the front line. With their bonus first heavy, they're going to make quick work of that brute. And now the mags are on top of the Gaunts. They get their trample out, but still no stun. And the Gaunts are able to run away. And Yoru's little push there pushed back. Instead, going to go for these Shadow Demons here. I feel like he needs a little bit more than just these Weavers. He did bring a mag with him in that last push. But we've seen it's been Hellborns and Dragons that have been the important part in some of these matches so far. We'll see if he has any of that tech. Here comes another Weaver. And it's back to a creeping phase. Both these players have a similar style, which is they're content to creep if they're not being pressured. And that is a strong kind of macro style, but it's not the most interesting style from a viewership standpoint. I think that is something that Frostgiant is looking into as ways they can change creeps. I think creeps in the game are a very important part of the game, and I don't want to see them go away. But I would love to see some experimentation, some innovation around what they're for, and just try out different stuff, see if we can find a better format for them. Gaunt's fighting a fiend in the middle of the map. But this base here has now been scouted. A few Gaunts are just left to try and take it out. But actually they get pulled away too. Not sure why. As, there's a long train of Gaunts moving across the map for Yoru to move into a defensive position here. And he's now going to retake these camps as a result. And where is it that Control's thinking of going? He's set up a rally here near his Shroud Highway and this Vision Camp. Poor Weaver caught out on the map. But now it's going to be a battle. Yoru's got a larger force here. But Control's feeling a little bit confident and pushed out. But here it comes. Here's the full engage. Both of them timid. A huge Nightfall infestation. Look how many infested units there. And Yoru wants to push into that, but doesn't want to get caught in a position where he's facing a tough concave. And that can be hard with units that all move at different speeds. The Gaunts want to frontline when they shouldn't. The Weavers, who should be frontlining, are always in the back because they're so slow. So the Infernal Army is a little bit hard to get positioning on early on. And again, Yoru's just been very timid with this army. He still has about a 50 supply lead. So he can push out. At this point, he's saying, okay, do you have a middle base? He's trying to be safe here. Look for possible ways that if he does just a move in and lose this army, that he might lose the game. He doesn't want to throw the game. He wants to be able to engage the army and win. And they both cleared open the center there, so he actually searched there just a second or two too late, or too early rather, and missed that going down. What is this? For real, what is this? I do not understand that. A shrine right there. Well, the shrine provides shroud. I don't know. I really don't know what that is. And now we have some Hellborn. And Yoru is going to push in. It's Hellborn versus Hellborn. There's upgrades on both sides. Lash is going down on both sides. But it's just going to be who has the more units and who can get the better concave. And now Yoru's dragon shows up. This is what he's been waiting for. That means extra fiends going to be showing up on his side. And yeah, there's already a little bit of a fiend snowball. And Gaunts are going down. And this is going to spell... Ooh, sorry about that bug. This is going to spell the end of Control, I imagine. Although actually Control has a good number of reinforcing Gaunts here that push forward to the front again. Taking out a few of these Weavers. It's that dragon above that there's no answer to for the moment. And again, Hellborn trying their best from the back to break this force, but the Hellborn of Yoru also doing work. Interesting that they're retreating, but I think they've noticed now that there is a base in the middle. They said, if we're going to kill base, why don't we kill that one? And now it's a huge snowball, and that's going to be GG out of Control. We're going to game number 5. And this best of 5 becomes a best of 1. And here we are on the deciding map, Boneyard. And this is going to be Control in the blue Infernal. And his opponent, Yoru, in the red Infernal. Two Hexens crossing in the middle. Yoru's Hexen says, get out of here. I'm going to shoot you a couple times. I'm going to chase you. I'm chasing you all the way back. You better not come to my base. I don't know. And now they've turned to fight. Let's fight each other. I'm going to eat a cabbage. No, I'm going to eat the cabbage. Oh, that's Control gets the cabbage and keeps moving. And now it is Yoru who decides, no, I am going home. I am teleporting back. You're going to show up just in time for me to get you, buddy. I'm going to get you. Don't you come into my base. Got you. Get out of here. Yeah, you better teleport home. I've got some Gaunts. Okay. An amazing Hexen battle to start. But what that means is Control got a wee bit of scouting think he saw the vault. I'm not sure if he got close enough to see the conclave. And Yoru did not get scouting. But this matchup is, especially in Game 5 here when they played each other 4 other times, they've pretty much opened almost the exact same way every single time. So he's probably not going to be too surprised if he did scout out and say, oh, there's a conclave and then there's a vault. That's different than the vault conclave from last time, so now I am confused. No, this is a very, like I said last time, regardless of how you kind of open up with those 2 production buildings, if you're doing a vault and a conclave, you're going to end up with a very similar composition at very similar times in the game, regardless of what order you put them in. The only real good scouting information you can get is to find out that, you know, maybe they went shrine first or something like that. But this camp gets taken out just as controls units show up. And, yeah, that brute gets taken out. But that's about it. There's not much else that Control can do with his army across the map. He could try and pressure, but they had pretty much the exact same composition there. And with the defender's advantage, with the closer reinforcement of Yoru, that would have probably been easier for Yoru to hold. So Control moves back to try and take this camp, and that is actually giving Yoru just a little bit of an advantage. Since Yoru has already taken his vision camp and is already on to, well, I was going to say he's already onto it. He's just getting to the energy camp, so not being too much ahead in the creeping as a result of that. In fact, Control is also about to hit the energy camp, and he has 3 Fellhogs to help here. And one of them is doing some tanking. You like it if all of your Fellhogs can do some tanking. But, or rather if they're tanking both of those lines. You don't necessarily need them all taking damage, but you want the Fellhogs taking the damage, not your units. If you can, that's the point there. Of course, the Fellhogs also provide DPS, which is also part of the point. How many Fiends you got? I got 6, and you got 4. But are we going to micro battle? Maybe not, because Control has brought his whole army to bear here. He's lured these Fiends in, and one of the Fiends gets taken out. And very curious creeping here. This camp seems way harder than this to me. But Yoru is a pro, so he knows what he's doing. And I am a noob. So I look at that and I need a bunch of brutes to just tank all that. But apparently you only need a single brute. But yeah, those Fiends did go down real quick. Yeah, this is what I'm starting to see more of. And okay, so he does micro the Gaunts pretty well. One Gaunt going down. Oh no, not another one. Please, no. But yeah, okay, so it is kind of tricky, but they don't mind. They don't mind. I'm here for the income, yo. If I have to pay to win, that's fine. I just need to sacrifice a few of my units to get this sweet, sweet Therium drip. I will do it. Ooh, this one's going to be taken away. So once again, it is a battle of creepers. Creepy, creepy, creep. Who can creep the most? Who can creep the fastest? And who can keep control of those towers? Once again, this Luminite going to be recaptured here by Yoru. And Yoru's army, having cleared out his side of the map, is moving back into a defensive position. There are more units there waiting for him. And Control now taking out this Therium camp while also stealing this one with his Fiends. So lots of Fiend control here around the map. No one going for those siege camps yet. Yoru with some Scout Fiends out on the map. And what do we have here? Some Fiends that are looking to take this camp, it looks like. Yep. A little back and forth between these Fiends trying to take each other's camp. And a single Fiend scouts out this base. Some units go to come and clean it up. And this army for Yoru just moving back and forth, trying to see if there's any Scout Fiends here for control. Trying to be in a position that's a little bit more defensive of this third base. Where are these brutes going? Brutes and guns. Brutes and guns. Oh, go in here. Control's taking a more forward position. Hopefully being able to scout any units coming to him before he needs to engage them. Whereas Yoru is more defensive at his third. So these two players, we've seen this from them for the first 4 games. They're going to wait until about the 9 or 10 minute mark when they've got the composition that they want and they've double cleared their camps before they're going to start to engage. And looks like we might get our engage right here, actually, as this camp becomes a point of contention. A couple bouncing axes aggro the Shadow Demons. And one Shadow Demon goes to Yoru, but Control's trying to push in here. He's got mostly gone. And nope, Yoru pushes him back, and he's going to have to retreat. More Gaunts are rallying up here, and unfortunately they're getting caught. Oh no, terrible. A huge Nightfall infestation that goes down. There's so many weak units, and it looks like they might be going down. This is a huge play for Yoru here. Lots of Fiends here. But now Control's going to decide to turn and fight. Actually, not true. He is still in retreat. Wants to fight under the healing camp and on the Shroud here. With a Manifest on the high ground, this could be a clutch hold. Double Lash on that Megalodon so it can't get any damage done. But now there are... Ooh, that was a misclick. So aiming for the Weaver but getting a Gaunt. Nice Nightfall used to zone these units so they couldn't continue their retreat. Instead they've turned to fight, and now it's Concave versus Concave. It's not clear who has the better one here. I think it might be Control. But a ton more Gaunts are showing up for Yoru. And yeah, Yoru kind of has a pretty good Concave, but it, unfortunately, as Concave sometimes do, they're focused on each other's corners, which will cause each one to sort of disintegrate. They have now just retreated. Yoru pulls back, and his Reaper's Rush is almost done. I assume that's what that is, yeah. Whereas Reaper's Rush is already done for Control, and that might be one reason why he thought it was a good idea to retreat. So he's returned to take this camp, and now we are also creeping out the Vision camp. And it's back to creeping. I think this more passive style of play, it must be working out for these two. But it's certainly not as interesting as doing some drop play or some harass play. So here we do have a little harass coming out, or they're maybe just misrallied, but no, they look like they might be a harass. And scooch right in there. Don't worry about those hell hogs. Hell hogs? That's also cool, I guess. Hell hogs. A couple Fiends are spawning from these imps, and a few more Gaunts are sent to try and clean this up. But it's imp damage that Yoru is trying to get done here. kill as many as he can, although he's now focusing fire down Gaunts, doing a great job of it, actually. Almost all those Gaunts that were sent here are cleaned up, and now it's 2 Weavers. Now I think Weavers versus Gaunts, the Weavers are definitely going to do alright against them. And yeah, they do get cleaned up, but there is a little bit of an engage going on here over by this Luminite camp. A complicated place to attack into where there's so many chokes. Hard to get a good concave going. But Yoru does push Control back. Control may be wisely not wanting to fight in that compressed area and lose his units, while his units were actually also split into 2 forces. Huge Nightfall infestation going down, but there is a Molten Touch Hellborn on the map, firing down on a lot of Gaunts. I was like, where was that Hellborn? I heard one shot, and there goes another one. But it's Yoru who's in full retreat here. And Control's army is looking pretty strong. Yoru turns to fight in this choke, but that's not a great place. He wants to get those brutes in front of his Gaunts. And there's just a lot of higher tech units here in terms of Weavers and Hellborns that are going to make breaking this army hard for Yoru. But once again, Control decides to move back, and I have a guess what that's about. Coming back to get this health camp to make sure he has that bonus when he attacks in. Very critical in a mirror match. And same thing happening for Yoru, and Yoru does have a dragon out. I don't think we've seen a dragon yet from Control. But he definitely has the resources for it, not necessarily the Animus yet. And coming to take the Luminite camp that has been contested many times this game, but now looks like he might be moving into this base. And sure enough, the Imps turn to fight. They try and get into a protective area, but the Static D goes down very quickly. And now these Gaunts are here. The Imps really have nowhere to go where they're not going to be picked off by Gaunts, so they try to just run into the back corner. The Dragon shows up, but is not protected at the moment and has to retreat. So many Fiends spawning out of those Imps that were murdered. And the base is gone, and Control's just content to retreat out while Yoru moves to a more defensive position. Now with Mags and Hellborns of his own to help with that defense. Now Control, a lot of moving back and forth with his army. He seems unwilling to commit it into a major battle. He didn't really want to chase down Yoru's army after killing that base, and instead has come all the way back to this side of the map. I'm not sure what this is. Is he going to go creep this camp? You know, this camp was like right there. But yeah, so he came all the way to the other side of the map to take this siege camp, which will earn him one of the pencil sharpeners, and that's probably going to get distracted and come over here. And sure enough, it does. There is a little harass force over here. It was a dragon, actually. A harassing dragon killed some Imps and spawned some Fiends. And so all of Control's army brought back to deal with that. While the pencil sharpener is here, the only defense against this army. We saw some flame Imps go off there as well. Here comes some more flame Imps. Huge contact. And there goes the pencil sharpener, but there is still a shroud stone here, as well as a few fell hogs from these farms that will go down fairly quickly. But Control has decided to move into a full-on attack now, saying go ahead and take my 5th, but I'm going to come and take your main. few Shadow Flyers there looking for a dragon. Shadow Flyers contacting with Shadow Flyers. That's the worst. And this is just an overwhelming force from Control that's just doing a devastating amount of damage. So many units going down here. There is Dragon on Dragon battle here in the center. Although just a ton of Fiends spawning on the side of Control. And those Fiends just go running into the main. Or into the natural here. While the army is trying to come from the back here and get on top of something. Huge final engage with the Megs, but that is going to be GG, and congratulations to Control for winning this series.